Hey everyone, Nidoking here, and I think I finally know what I need to do to get the other weapon out of this Modic fight. I'm gonna go for it, and I figured the illusion challenge was a much easier way to get to the boss than actually going through the tutorial again. So this is something that seems like I probably should have guessed it. But I joined another indie Discord where they've got a discussion channel for this game and all their other games. And people mentioned defeating Modic in a different way that would give you a different weapon. And noticing that there is a target on his head, I figure probably what I need to do is cut his head off. Problem is, he doesn't leave it open for very long, ever. And it took a while trying to bait the attacks that actually put his head closer to the ground. But there we go, I finally get it. His armor flies in all directions, and his head just sorta starts running along the ground. Now at this point, I have no idea whether defeating the body is going to just do the normal finish, but I figure the challenge seemed to have been landing one of the last couple of hits on the head. So I assume I have to defeat the head without finishing the body. Now, I don't know whether that's actually true or not. You know, the body seems to be the dangerous part. The head's just sort of sitting out there. Well, now it's doing something. But it really doesn't seem like much of a threat if it goes back to normal and not having any attacks after one hit. So really, this is just a matter of watching where I am and not getting hit by the body too many times. And it's sticking to its repertoire of kicking attacks naturally, not attempting to, say, peck at me with no head to do it with. It's just kind of hard to get them separated so I can land hits on the head. But this should be the end of it. And now I can finish the body. And that's that. But naturally, there's no reward for doing it in the Illusion Challenge. You have to do it in the main game. And yeah, even hitting it with a javelin square in the neck doesn't do it, but you really just seem to have to land that exact attack when it's got its head close to the ground and hit the neck. So I figure it should be a lot easier this time to take out the head because the body's got lots more health. So a couple of stray attacks that hit it aren't going to end the fight. But I still do need to be careful. I'd say Modic never seems to be much of a threat, but I'm sure if I got really careless I could die to him. It's like Pinwheel in Dark Souls. I've seen people die to him, I don't know how they managed it. So, really viciously going after the head here, because the body's going to be super easy to finish once it's gone. It's the same fight it's ever been, I think. Kinda neat that you get to see the body without the armor on, and it really looks like an uncooked, plucked chicken. And you could see that in the refrigerated section of a grocery store. Minus the chains wrapped around the legs, I think. I think I knocked it out of a bicycle kick or something. Why am I having so much trouble bringing it home? I should be a pro at this by now. So that's new. And finally, yes, I have obtained the other new weapon. It's Rhodes's weapon, the Crescent Halberd and False Shield. So, as usual, let's go ahead and give it a try, see what its moves are. So, it's got a shield with a face on it. And a 3-hit quick attack combo. Pretty slow, takes up a bunch of stamina. Here's the strong attack. I like that. Charged strong attack actually has an energy wave to it. And then the running attack with either button is exactly the same. So I suppose at this point I really need to give it a try on some actual bosses. See how it performs. So let's go for that. See how it actually works in combat situations. I mean, sort of like with the regular shield and sword, it seems like the intention with this weapon is to block everything. But against Chanel, that's not a good strategy because the freezing effect still goes through. And a kick is about the only thing you can successfully block. Otherwise, you're just gonna get frozen every time. Well, I did manage to break 3, which is unusual. Yeah, I think it's about time I stop trying to block and just go for rolling and attacking, which the game crashed. At least I hadn't made any actual progress in the fight, but that's really annoying. The energy wave attack is nice for keeping enemies at a distance, but it takes up so much stamina. And then you're just open for whatever follow-up attack the enemy's got. I mean, at the very least, the shield does protect my HP, even if it doesn't stop me from getting frozen. So I can block attacks, it's just not usually going to be a very good idea. And the energy wave doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Yeah, I guess it's a little like throwing the lightning spears at Angron. There's no point to it, but it's there. You can do it. And I'm kind of watching what combos I use, because I don't want to use the one that crashed the game last time. But I do seem to be able to goad her into using attacks that she probably shouldn't, which is nice. It's not even enough to knock her out of using the volley of arrows attack. I'm actually really surprised I survived all that. But she's in desperation mode, which means some really vicious attacks coming. And I think the more of those energy waves I can hit her with, the better. What's nice is, it actually does aim at her when I've got her targeted. I've seen a fair number of attacks that don't do that, and there we can see the extent of the reach of the energy wave. Sadly, it doesn't just go forever. I think Rhodes's does, but then you never fight him in an arena this big. So, quick burst of fire, just to make sure that if I do manage to knock her down to almost nothing, bit late on that attack, and she turns into the worm again. One of these days, I may be able to beat her without her doing this. It's not today. I suppose at this point I probably could block more of the attacks than I have been. Clearly not that one. But, like, the bite I might be able to block with this shield. The jumping attack most likely. Okay, I don't seem to be able to block the bite. Which is weird, because it's like the one attack I really would have expected to be blockable. But I think it's probably about time to say this is just not a very good weapon for this fight. Although, if you have to lean on a shield, this is the one to use, because it doesn't break. I mean, that's surprising to me. I would have expected that the sacrifice to Chanel would have made this shield also brittle and make it break if you got your stamina broken. But there's no symbol on the weapon icon, and I'm pretty sure I've lost all my stamina at least once with the shield up. Nothing happens. So maybe it was just too much effort to program that in for a new weapon, or maybe they figured that would ruin the entire point of this weapon, so why would you even use it then? Anyway, that's that fight done. I'm not even going to pretend that Chanel might have something useful to say about this weapon. She doesn't. She doesn't have anything useful to say about anything. And next up, as always, the hardest of the bosses, probably. At least in normal mode. It's good to know I can block the axes from the front, but when they boomerang around, the shield's not all that useful. For this attack, though, it's pretty good. It's nice not having to worry about timing anything. Now, obviously, you can't parry with the Great Shield. It just doesn't work. So, there's no riposte. Which is about the only other thing that there is to see with any given new weapon, is how good the riposte is. But, yeah, I think I'm gonna make a lot of use of this running attack against the lightning form. And actually, during that phase, I can use the energy waves and hit her from just outside of the reach of her lightning, which is really nice. You know, no more of this sitting back uselessly waiting for the attack to be done so I can get in some damage. And I don't think stamina is going to be much of a threat here either. I mean, my favorite strategy in this fight the first time always was just go in with your shield up. That's what this weapon was built for. And this actually pretty closely mimics the setup that I used to use when I played Dark Souls a whole lot. You know, strongest shield I could manage, and a nice slow weapon that does a lot of damage. And Indok is really low on health already, which is absolutely perfect. You know, hoping to finish her before she can do too much damage, but at the very least, if I can keep them both on the same side of me, I can block them with the same shield. You know, losing a lot of stamina in the process, I'm sure. Okay, that's the Dance of Death. I know where to hide for this one. And of course, the one I want to fight is way on the far side of the room. I love being able to dodge roll. I missed that on the last playthrough. And I've nearly finished the first one. Yeah, this time she actually died when she ran out of HP. That's something. So I think I can conclude that only the Pick of Chastity is capable of knocking her out of this chandelier summoning animation. At least that's really the way it seems to be. I didn't quite get far enough away, but I have to watch my turtling strategy here because the chandeliers will still land on my head, I think. The shield doesn't protect my head as such. Stood still a little too long before her attack pattern was really established. But I like this pace. I've got lots of healing left. I'm getting hit by chandeliers. That's not as good as the rest of what I'm doing. But yeah, I think this strategy is pretty steady. Bit too close. And I'm still getting used to this weapon. I don't know the range quite yet. But, yeah, we're pretty done here, as long as the game doesn't decide to crash on me again. No failures. Yeah, I'm really satisfied with that. Yeah, it may not be my favorite weapon, but it's got its uses. So this time, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to fight Phystelus before I fight Yordo. It's really nice not having to worry about those eyeballs so much. If I can just put the shield up and pretend they don't exist. But I'm sure I'm still going to take poison damage if I block any of his poisonous attacks. Maybe a little tough to tell. Alright, I need you to stop using all the worst attacks right now. Come over here. Alright, this'll get him. And he actually was moving toward me, and now he's gone somewhere else again. Why am I so bad at this? Anyway, I think you've probably got the idea. There's not really going to be a whole lot of interest here. And I spend most of my time hiding from all of his attacks. When I've got a giant freaking shield. But again, this goes back to pretty much the way I did the fights the first time. I've just got a much better shield this time, and a much slower attack. Hey, look at this. It's the attack that I normally would parry, but I can't. You know, I get really used to this fight, the way it works in Nightmare mode. And he does pretty much the same thing, just long-range attacks all the time. He doesn't like coming close. And now the part that I nearly forgot after all those Nightmare playthroughs, the midpoint where he just throws everything that he has at you. I've gotten really used to this. And I figure the bigger shield will probably be even better, because now I can pretty reasonably just block his attacks if I need to. But there's still stuff to hide behind, so why bother? He should be coming down any minute now. Hey, it's nice to have a shield, so when he does, he can't really catch me by surprise. I honestly don't know how I've managed to avoid being poisoned all this time. What did he just do? I think that was the dance animation for all the little poison bullets, but then he didn't actually shoot them. Alright, I think I'm just gonna have to block this thing. No damage, at least. It's not like the Dark Souls tiny bit of magic damage gets through your shield thing. I do miss just being able to parry that attack and get some free hits, but blocking it and getting some free hits works just as well, I suppose. Okay, yeah, I figured he was on the high ground now. That's just his little death clones. I think the running attack is a little clunky, honestly. At least when you're aiming for small targets like that. Hitting the boss himself should be fine. And why not take poison right at the end, just to really finish things off. Because I guess I can't have a fight against probably the easiest boss in the game end without looking completely incompetent. Now that should have finished him off. It really should have. I've made jokes about how bad I am at this fight. They don't line up to the reality. I'm much, much worse than that. So Yordo, the boss that pretty much demands parries with a weapon that can't parry. But I mean, that is the point of this playthrough, is to do it with this weapon so I can try it out. Yeah, I don't expect this to go very well. I do have the energy waves, but his very, very slow movement is enough to get him out of the way, and when he does get hit, he can just block it with his shield. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I can block Rhodes' energy waves with my shield, so, you know, fair's fair. But without being able to parry, I just kind of have to let him get his hits and then capitalize on the rebound. The running attack does at least stagger him, so I can get in a couple of hits after that if I have the stamina for it, and having fought Faiztalas, I really don't. I'm gonna say this is another fight where you just don't want to be using this weapon. Go for the scythe, it's the best. I don't like being in the center of all the guys here. And I can't even hit him when he's running at me. He just stays behind the shield far too much. And I think every time I use a running attack, I'm probably going to take a spear to the face. That's just a given. And I have to make sure none of his other minions are around, or they're going to follow up on me before I can follow up on him. Yeah, I'm afraid this is just a painfully slow fight. Especially when I take that much damage every time I manage to land any kind of hit. Now, if I could convince them all to stay on the same side of me, that would be great. I didn't even manage to break his guard with that one. I think the real pattern is just one running attack, and then one regular attack, and then get out of there. That's all I've got the stamina for. Ironically, when using this weapon, it would probably be better to fight him before Faiztalas. Have the full stamina meter. That's probably going to be essential. But, you know, chipping away at him, little by little. Recover stamina and go in for the attack. Just gotta hit the shield button early enough that I'm hitting him before he's hitting me. And sometimes I don't have the stamina to follow up at all. So I suppose a single weapon run is more just an artificial challenge. People do it, I'm sure. I know someone's gonna ask me why I'm still doing this. In fact, it's been asked multiple times. I really don't know. And this is a new formation. I have never seen that before. So, we'll see how that goes when I'm not completely caught off guard by everybody running at me in a straight line. He knocks me back if I go for him while he's summoning the minions at this point. And if I do manage to outrun them, he just summons the same formation again. I think this is going to happen over and over until I just break through that line somehow. Or he'll just go for the greatsword. At which point he doesn't have his shield up, and now the fight is kind of a piece of cake. And his sword swing is so slow I can shield bash him before he actually manages to hit me. So I don't really need a follow-up attack as such. But it does a ton of damage when I manage to land one. And look at this. Once you've gotten past the halfway point of the fight, there's nothing left of it. Even if I'm going to get very sloppy here. And not even hit him. To be honest, I've got plenty of spears. I could just go for my usual strategy of throwing them all till he dies. But, I mean, the point kinda was to use this weapon. Alright, once everybody gets out of the way, sticking with the tried and true methods, I suppose. So, yeah, I can get some stuff done with this weapon. But the back half of the game is going to be bad. A lot of enemies with a lot of attacks that I don't think the False Shield and Crescent Spear are going to be very good for. But at least I can block this. Yeah, I'll see you next time.